It's Thanksgiving. You're vegan, but nobody else coming over for dinner is. So, what do you serve? Well, we've got some ideas from an expert headed your way. Welcome to the Exam Room Live, brought to you by the Physicians Committee. Hi, I am the weight loss champion, Chuck Carroll. Thank you so very much for joining us to raise your health IQ. And we're now watched and downloaded in more than 150 countries around the world, making this one of the most consumed nutrition podcasts anywhere on the planet today. So here is the pickle that we are facing. You've got a bunch of people coming over for Thanksgiving, and they are used to eating turkey. They want that real mac and cheese. They want sausage gravy. They want sausage stuffing. They want real butter. They want collard greens cooked with ham. The list goes on and on and on. So the pressure is indeed on to keep their palates pleased while keeping it plant-based. But today, you say, well, there's not a lot of pressure because really the only sweat here is the sweat that you're going to be working up in the kitchen, whipping up these wonderful masterpieces. Plant-based chef, weight loss success, inspirational social media star Brittany Jaroudi is here to take the pressure off of your turkey-free turkey day. She's got some great ideas for keeping it plant-based while still serving a 5-star meal that will kick off the holiday season in style. And she's going to be showing us how she's taking the turkey off of her own table with a phenomenal, delicious vegan Thanksgiving platter. And if there's something that you could use a little help with your menu, no problem. Brittany's here to help with that as well. Post your questions in the comment or in the chat. We're going to open up the mailbag and get to as many of them as we possibly can. And with that, let's go ahead and welcome Brittany into the Exam Room Live as we head into her kitchen. Brittany Jaroudi, thanks for being here. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. Thanks for having me.
I'm thrilled that you're here, and I'm looking at the spread that you have in front of you today, and my mouth is already watering. You love to cook. Do you get fired up for this time of year?
It's my favorite holiday.
Is it?
I love cooking. I love making all of my favorite meals, and it's been so fun to play with recipes that were traditional that we had and make them whole food plant-based.
What did you feel a lot of pressure to take those family favorites and try to veganize them, make them whole food plant-based?
Originally, I just brought I brought our food to eat and I put it out, and I noticed that family members were like going for all of our food. And so, this is my my sixth Thanksgiving being plant-based. And so I've definitely learned to bring like more than you think because everyone kind of wants to try. And now that we've been doing it for so long, it's so easy just to whip together the whole course.
Oh, that's so great to hear because, I'm in a divided house, right? My wife and I are team vegan. My father and mother-in-law, they are team turkey, but you know what? We're hosting. So
Yeah.
we're definitely going team vegan all the way here. So I'm glad that you're here. It makes me feel a little bit better about what's going to happen in a couple of days from now. But before we get to the main event, and I believe actually you're going to be replacing the turkey with that vegan Thanksgiving platter that you're whipping up, right?
Yeah, this recipe is so easy. You can make it so many different ways. And I actually love this as dinner throughout the whole holiday season. So I'm going to show you guys how to whip it up. Again, you can change things out. And we have a video on our YouTube channel called Thanksgiving Platter if you need to see me redo this at a later date. But it's so simple. We're just going to add a cooked grain. So I have some farro here, but you could use rice, quinoa, millet, any of your favorite cooked grains. And literally it's so easy. We're just gonna add it to our platter.
Do you just cook that like rice, add a little bit of water?
Yep, I just cook it like rice, and it's actually really nice if people are, for some reason, if they're avoiding rice, I feel like farro is a great substitute because it's still very kind of toothy and similar to rice, but it cooks up a lot faster. And if you've never had farro, it's just, it's in usually grocery stores in the ethnic section. It's it's one of my favorite grains. So I just kind of start with that.
Oh, that looks good.
Super easy. And then I always add a bean or a lentil to this for our, to kind of make you full. So I have some brown lentils. Couldn't be easier. We change this up too. So sometimes I do chickpeas. We've done black beans. I've done pinto beans, really whatever your family likes. And so this is just lentils and farro. Super easy. And
yeah,
then
that alone looks like a good side right there.
right? And it can
Yeah.
even be the main star of the dish if you make it on a platter, because we're going to add a lot of color to this. So I always like to add a little bit of crunch. So I do shredded Brussels sprouts or broccoli. I have both here. Sometimes we even do chopped curly kale.
Mm.
So this is our greens. It's already going to get a little bit more color. And you can use cooked broccoli, or, if you want to add this to the oven after it's all done to soften it and serve it warm, it's really up to you. And then up next, I have some onions. So I have some red onion here. Again, you could saute it or add it in raw, but there's some purple onion for some color. I have some shredded carrots, some more color.
Yeah,
And you
you
can
got
see
the whole rainbow going on.
yeah, it gets really bountiful and beautiful. Some celery for some crunch. And so there's all these different textures, and it's filling and beautiful. And then I also like to add some fruit to this. So I'll add chopped pears and apples and some pomegranate seeds. And it really just makes it so good. And then you carefully would toss this all together. But really simple, some pomegranate seeds. And then also what I like to do is, before you put it in a big, beautiful platter like mine, I also sometimes like to season it. So this right now is just plain, but I always use some salt-free vegetable broth and add in some seasonings to kind of give everything a little bit flavor. Herbs de Provence is my favorite Thanksgiving seasoning. I call it Thanksgiving in a jar. Trader Joe's sells a great one. I usually stock up. It's seasonal, so I get like 6 or 7 of these to last me all year. So I'll add some of that. I might add some parsley, some black pepper, and the vegetable broth really helps the seasonings go a long way. So you don't even, you don't need oil or anything like that. And then I always like to add some dried fruit to this. So this is dried cherries or raisins or even chopped dates. And again, it's that texture of a little bit of sweet with crunch. And you could pop this into your oven and just reheat it as well. And it turns out to be like such a beautiful display. It took me like no time at all. Really chopping everything is the hardest part. And it's just filling. You also feel really good. I love a vegan plant-based Thanksgiving because I don't feel like garbage at the end of it. Before it was like everyone would go to the couches directly after to take a nap because you're stuffed and feeling not the best. And it's like, yeah, I feel full, but I still feel really good with all the plant-based foods I'm eating.
For sure. And that looks absolutely delicious. Question about the fruit here.
Yeah.
Do you skew more toward the cherries to give it kind of a tart flavor, or you also mentioned dates and raisins as possibilities, which are a little bit more sweet?
Yeah.
Just for your palate, which do you prefer?
Right now I really do like the dark sweet cherries. But we just kind of change it up. I think one of the things with the pandemic and everything is just using up what we have. If you're avoiding grocery shopping because Thanksgiving, it gets kind of crazy. I know personally for me, I've already done it. Everything's already stocked in my fridge. I'm not going to go out again. And I know that when I went out this weekend, it already was getting pretty crazy. It's nice just to use whatever you have on hand as well. So I've become a little bit more resourceful using up what we have.
All right, gang. Here's the deal. I want to throw out kind of a challenge here. So, post what it is that you've been eating traditionally for Thanksgiving, even if it's not plant based, and maybe Brittany can help you come up with some ways that you could veganize this. Let's talk about sides. You've got that wonderful main there, but I want to talk about the sides because so many people, and even watching football last night, they were talking about, well, what are you going to eat for Thanksgiving? And somebody said, just like flat out, it is not Thanksgiving unless I get mom's homemade mac and cheese. I saw recently on your YouTube channel, Brittany, where you came up with this amazing instant mac and cheese that I thought looked absolutely incredible. How easy is it to convert what real mac and cheese over into a vegan version?
There's so many recipes now out there, and that's exactly why I started my YouTube channel, was to take foods that, the family would enjoy before, but making them healthy and plant-based. So that's my goal of my channel. So we do have our instant mac and cheese, which is more of like a box mac and cheese, mainly that kids get with the cheese powder that you mix in. But we also have like a baked mac and cheese that's a little bit creamier. That's more of the traditional Thanksgiving recipe I think people are looking for. But it's not hard. I mean, I feel like it's overwhelming at first when you do this, but as you get used to it, it's just like cooking. It's just figuring out what flavors you like and then ways to tweak it. And there are so many great recipes out there now. I feel like it's easier than it's ever been to be plant-based at Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, maybe the first time out of the gate trying it, they're going to gravitate toward the store-bought plant-based cheeses. There's so many brands there. I mean, basically, plant-based cheese, they can have their own aisle in a lot of stores. You
Yeah.
like to keep it SOS. Where do you weigh in on some of the store-bought cheeses out there?
Yeah, I think it's a great source for transitioning. I think there's a time and place for, and if that's helpful for you, for sure. For me, I find that, you know, I'm pretty crafty now and experienced in like whipping stuff up from scratch. So I don't mind, I usually stay away from store-bought stuff, but I think there's a time and place for it as well. And maybe in your first Thanksgiving that you're trying this.
We have a couple of people now who are wondering, all right, well, how do you make that traditional green bean casserole? A lot of those recipes
Yeah.
call for cream of mushroom soup. That is not typically vegan. So how might you go a vegan route with that?
Yeah, so I just kind of make a homemade cream of mushroom where we have a mushroom soup recipe and I'll use that and even just blend up the chopped mushrooms in it so it's a little bit smoother. And that's just a great replacement. You literally can use the same amount that you would use for the can of mushrooms for a homemade mushroom soup that you've blended. So I always do that for our green bean casseroles.
Yeah, check this out. Tofu Tuesday is in the kitchen with us right now. At 12:13, Tofu writes, I'm actually prepping a lentil loaf and condensed mushroom soup for green bean casserole for Thanksgiving right now. That's pretty cool. We're having kind of a cook along today. Do you get the opportunity to do that with a lot of your followers?
Yeah, so we do a monthly cooking class, so it's really fun. Some people choose to cook alongside me. We actually had one this weekend, so it was really fun to see people, and I feel like that's a little helpful too if you're cooking alongside the recipe because you can ask questions and sometimes I'm in the kitchen like running around kind of like crazy doing stuff, and it's nice to slow down, take it step by step and really explain what you're doing, why you're doing it. And that just makes people more comfortable too in the kitchen.
All right, let's talk about another Thanksgiving staple, and that, of course, is stuffing. I mentioned
Yeah.
sausage stuffing at the top with sausage gravy. That was what was happening at the Carroll household growing up. You want to take the meat out of the stuffing, out of the gravy. What's the healthiest plant-based option that you can think of there?
We have two different stuffing recipes on our YouTube channel. We have one that's a cornbread sausage stuffing, and we make a kind of a homemade sausage with black beans and other seasonings. And it gives you that same like meaty texture that you're looking for mixed in with the cornbread in a stuffing style. And then we have more of a traditional one. And, I find that we love both of them. And it's so easy now to kind of switch my mindset of, when I think of sausage, I think about, oh, it's our sausage recipe that we make with black beans. So really easy to kind of, replace things like that in a recipe and give you something that gives you the same texture, but, without the negativity health benefits behind it, that are coming out.
So you like the black beans more than like a seitan, or I've seen some people even and do it with a tofu. I would imagine like they definitely have a different kind of texture to them. What are the
Yeah.
pros and cons of each there?
Yeah, I personally, for me, I don't really eat much of seitan, the vital wheat gluten, just because it kind of upsets my stomach as well. So I stick with more beans and even tofu and tempeh. And I find that black beans, when you make it, like when you make a black bean patty or you make something like that, it really binds everything well. So that's a really great way of using it. Where tofu, I tend to use where it's a little bit softer, or even using it like silken tofu and maybe a pumpkin pie would be really great. So more different things for that. So I feel like you learn easy, when you're doing this, that lentils and beans are really great ideas to kind of substitute kind of meatier textures.
And what about the gravy, right? So it's sausage gravy here, but in all honesty, I've been eating plant-based Thanksgiving now for six. I think that this will be my seventh year doing it. Have not once missed the sausage gravy, and everybody whom I've served has not said anything about, oh, this gravy tastes like vegetables. I mean, that's one of those things that's so easy to veganize that if you really, aren't going to feel pressure about anything,
Right.
maybe it should be the gravy.
Yeah, and I mean, we make a mushroom gravy, which is super easy and so good. And I'm not even like a huge mushroom fan. All of the people that follow me kind of know that I've had to learn to like mushrooms as I go on. It was definitely was not it was a food I avoided before being plant based, but we love it in gravy. It's thick and delicious, and like the great thing about Thanksgiving, I feel, is that it's really all about the sides, and it's so easy to make the sides vegan. Who doesn't love mashed potatoes, right? And cranberry sauce and all of that.
All right, mashed potatoes. We got a couple of people wondering about that. Traditional mashed potato recipes call for milk. How easy is it to swap out dairy milk for a plant-based milk and still get that same kind of flavor?
It's so easy. And, now there's like everything, all the different types of plant-based milks. I generally stick with like a soy milk or an almond milk. The only milk I kind of stay away from when I do mashed potatoes is really like an oat milk because it's naturally a little bit sweeter. Those are great for dessert recipes or something you want to be sweet. So, I think you can mix it 1 to 1, to be honest. And, instead of butter, we do a little bit of white miso paste in ours, and it just turns out so good. So yeah, mashed potatoes is definitely at the top of our top of my Thanksgiving plans.
All right, you're gonna have to run that back. Miso in the mashed potatoes for real?
Yeah, yeah, white miso paste, just a little bit goes a long way, and it just makes it creamy and it gives you a little bit of that saltiness flavor that I think people are looking for. And we use it in a lot of our recipes because it doesn't have like the same effect on your blood pressure as table salt.
Daggone, that is how did you think up of that? That is like I would have never
Well,
thought to turn to miso.
I have to thank Dr. Greger because he was who, I kind of got me started on this. And so when he came, his research came out that, miso didn't have negative effects on your blood pressure and as table salt does. And us trying to be, SOS free, we kind of switched over to adapting a little bit of miso in our recipes. And it really has gone a long way for people that aren't plant-based to enjoy it as well.
All right, we have somebody in the chat right now that's like, well, now hold on and go back to the mashed potatoes. I only have the sweetened almond milk in my refrigerator right now. Probably not the best idea to use that, I would assume in that case.
Yeah, I wouldn't use sweetened. I wouldn't use vanilla, nothing like that. As plain as you can get it. But another good idea too is that you can always, make your own at home. It's pretty easy nowadays too to kind of whip it together. What we actually do, and this is another Dr. Greger tip, is we sometimes will just take almond butter and mix it with water in our blender, and it makes milk. It's that easy. And so sometimes in a pinch, if I don't have any, we do that.
Yeah, you want to avoid those sugar taters. I'm not
Yeah,
sure that's that would
or
be
vanilla.
yeah, right? Vanilla sugar taters. Oh man, don't need that on my table this year. Oh, hello, dogs. Brussels sprouts. That's another one. You don't have to be vegan to enjoy a good Brussels sprout. When you're whipping up your recipes, what is the best one that you have in your arsenal?
So I love to take Brussels sprouts, put them in a bag with some Dijon mustard and some balsamic vinegar. Balsamic vinegars are so great to flavor even like this dish, or to put it in with that Dijon mustard and just balsamic vinegar that's flavored with your Brussels sprouts. It turns out to be so good. So we love, I keep all different kinds of flavors. This is a black fig one. We have a pear white balsamic, and that really can add so much variety to your palate when you're trying to stay SOS free doing this.
Do you roast them in the oven or do you use an air fryer? How do you like to cook yours?
Yeah, I just put them on parchment paper in the oven until they're nice and caramelized. And yeah, it turns out perfect. It's so easy. You can marinate them for a few hours if you want, if you have time. But yeah, that's definitely going to be on our Thanksgiving menu.
And if you marinate, do they come out a little bit more tender because they've been sitting in some liquid for a little while?
Definitely. And the longer you cook them, the softer they get. So, it just kind of depends on your preference. I feel like that's one of the things that people either people really like when they're cooked or like when they're raw. So I always tell people just do it to whatever preference you want. But yeah, they caramelize and become kind of like candied.
Oh yeah, there's definitely team soft and team crunchy when it comes to roasted
Right.
Brussels sprouts. I'm just for what it's worth, I'm a soft kind of a guy. I just for whatever reason, that's just my preference. But
Yeah, and
um,
if people don't like Brussels sprouts, I always say to try them shredded because really it's just cabbage. And so, like for this dish, we put it in shredded and raw, and it's just crunchy and great. So if you're not, I mean, it's still an amazing vegetable to get in because it's a cruciferous vegetable. So try it raw if you don't like it cooked.
yeah, and for those who aren't familiar yet with the health benefits of cruciferous vegetables, what are some of your favorites?
Yeah, so broccoli, Brussels sprouts, kale, bok choy, those are pretty much kind of my go-tos that we always have. Some cauliflower too is really great this time of year.
You mentioned bok choy. I don't think the bok choy has made it onto my Thanksgiving table just yet. But it does bring up another question that somebody had actually, it was more of a comment. Somebody posted a little bit earlier talking about giving Thanksgiving an international flair. They were talking about, well, they're going to be doing burrito bowls for Thanksgiving this year. So when it comes to really thinking outside the box and coming up with your menu, how much encouragement should you give someone to say, hey, it's your Thanksgiving, get creative, do with it what you want?
Always. And that's like my goal for my channel and my recipes too. I always encourage people just to change it, to make it how your family wants. You guys are eating it. It's your food. So if any recipe you ever find something like herbes de Provence that you don't like, you can leave it out and sub it with something else. And the same with, you should do what your family likes for Thanksgiving. So if that's making it more traditional or going and doing something unique, I'm all for it.
All right, we've been talking a lot about sides. Let's get back to taking the turkey off of the table. So you got that wonderful platter that you whipped up a little bit earlier, but what about somebody that's looking for something a little bit more traditional or closer to turkey anyway,
Right.
to substitute out? Cynthia at 1211. We've already talked about stuffing, but Cynthia is wondering what else might she want to try instead of turkey?
Yeah, so we're also going to do lentil loaves because those are, I feel like it wouldn't be Thanksgiving without a lentil loaf on our table. So we'll do a lentil loaf, and we change up the glaze on top. So sometimes we do more of a, kind of a ketchup glaze. Sometimes we do a barbecue glaze. So that just kind of changes year to year. A date glaze for a little bit sweeter. And then we'll also we also do stuffed acorn squash sometimes. We've done roasted cauliflower. That's really beautiful. Yeah, there's so many different ideas that you can kind of come up around it that I feel like the turkey is not missed.
Yeah, talk to me about the stuffed acorn squash because I'm doing a stuffed butternut squash recipe. It's
Yeah.
got
Yep.
wild rice, cranberries, some walnuts in there, herbs, spices, all of that good stuff.
Yeah, same idea. So acorn squash, and if this is your first time doing a squash, an acorn squash can be a little bit less intimidating because it's a little bit smaller to cut. And I also like doing it because everyone kind of gets half of it for their meal. So it's really, really beautiful. And again, I feel like it's all about presentation. If you eat with your eyes first. So if you're serving people that aren't plant-based, that aren't vegan, it really matters for how everything looks on your table.
Touche. And what are you putting in yours? You said it was kind of the same general ideas, but give me some
Yeah.
specifics.
Yeah, we'll do wild rice. We do a lentil. We mix it up with spices. I always do something with a crunch. So usually celery and carrots are mixed in there, and onion, and it just turns out so beautiful. And I will say that if you baste your squash, butternut or acorn squash with a little tahini, it just like makes the flavor even more. So usually when we cut it, when we roast it, we'll slather on a little bit of tahini rub, and you can even put your spices on then, and it just takes it to the next level.
Tahini, it's got a little bit of a zesty taste to it, and then paired with the sweetness of the squash. I think that you've just come up with an all-star pairing there, Brittany Jaroudi. That's what just happened.
Thank you. Yeah, it's so fun, and we just love playing around with all the seasonal vegetables as well because this is when I want to get it in when they're all in season right now.
For sure. Okay. Oh, let's go back to the lentil loaves really quickly. We've got a follow up here about where can Cynthia has a follow up. Where can she find the lentil loaf recipes that you were talking about? She says that she's tried some and they just weren't that tasty.
Yeah, so if you just Google my last name and you put lentil loaf in Google, it'll come up with 2 recipes for you. They're so great. The only tips I would give is that if you have time, it's a great idea to make them the day before and refrigerate them before you remove it from the pan. And that way it just doesn't crumble. Like the biggest thing I hear with lentil loaves is that they crumble and fall apart. That way it kind of sets up and gives it a moment. So if you have time, another thing that we sometimes do is we put our lentil loaf in a mini loaf pan, and then they're individual little lentil loaves. I'm all about how cute something looks. So everyone gets like a little lentil loaf on their table, and it's so fun. And then if you have leftovers, you can do Thanksgiving sandwiches with your little lentil loaves already pre-cut.
Is a lentil loaf one of those types of dishes that just somehow taste better the next day? So maybe you're even like really doing it right by cooking the day before Thanksgiving?
Definitely. And then it kind of, makes the day less stressful. If you can prep stuff ahead of time, I'm all for it, just to make the day a little easier on yourself.
Now, what about reheating them without drying them out? I'm sure that might be a concern for a lot of people.
Yeah, I find that if you just pop them in the oven, if you don't go above, like 350, usually it's fine. And just keep an eye on stuff. But middle rack, 350 for just a couple minutes to reheat, it usually does the job.
All right, we hear a lot about these lentil loaves. Are there any other type of loaf recipes that are whole food plant-based that you've heard of? Maybe you've whipped them up yourself?
I did see Chef AJ, I think she made a Forks Over Knives millet loaf. But I have not tried it. But usually I stick with kind of the seasonal ones that we've done. But I'm sure there's all sorts of ones. I mean, I'm so lucky to be a part of the plant-based community because there's so many people doing so many interesting things with recipes. It's so fun to see.
The creativity is off the charts. I always say that, and it never ceases to amaze me. Like you were just talking about pairing tahini with roasted acorn squash. Like I would never think to make that pairing, or put miso in mashed potatoes. Right? Like that to me is exceptionally creative. I love it, and it's all delicious. We have a question from somebody. Tracy is wondering whether if she makes stuffing today, will it keep in the refrigerator until Thanksgiving on Thursday?
It might be a little too early. Usually I say a day or two before. If it gets dried out, what I always do is just add a little bit of vegetable broth, just a little bit, and it kind of brings it back to life. But, I might not start Thanksgiving quite yet. Monday's still a little too early, I think.
And how long do you keep the leftovers? If you're cooking everything that's fresh, obviously not a lot of preservatives in there, if any, how long do they tend to keep in the refrigerator after Thanksgiving?
I find that like 5 days is usually, after the day, 5 days after you've made it is pretty a safe bet. 5 to 6 days for all plant-based recipes. So
Have you
they
heard
don't usually last that long in our house, though.
Have you heard about these refrigerators? I was talking to a professor at a university here, George Mason University in Fairfax, Virginia, and she was talking about how she and her students had come up with these refrigerators. They're engineering kids. I mean, just smarter than I could ever hope to be. They've come up with these refrigerators and freezers. Well, the refrigerators will keep spinach fresh for like a month and a half at least. And I'm like, how is that even possible? And she's like, you have to, right? Like you need to fly in, like just fly into Dulles. We'll go together and we'll do some stuff on social for it because I mean, daggone, a month and a half to keep your spinach fresh, and greens tend to go the quickest. So imagine how long everything else is going to keep. Like you could be eating Thanksgiving at Easter. That's what I'm thinking. Right.
I do the paper towel where you wash everything dry and then you put kind of a damp paper towel in with your box of greens, and that keeps a little longer. But yeah, thankfully I have a husband who has like a huge appetite. So like we never have leftovers. I wish we had leftovers.
Just pawn it off on, hey, honey, we still got some stuff left over. Go to town. Go to town.
We could just eat until, I don't know. He has 2 stomachs.
Hawaii is fun. I've never heard about this. A nut roast. So I don't think we're talking about roasted nuts, but a nut roast. What's that?
I've never heard of it, so I'd have to look that up too.
All right. Hey, Hawaii is fun. Little help in the chat. Help us out. School us up. I think that would be great. You know what we haven't talked about yet is I think everybody's favorite part of the meal, and that's dessert.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so flipping through your YouTube channel last night, I saw a lot of fun things on there, including, I believe, like some mini pumpkin pies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, you can make all the mini stuff, mini loaves, mini pumpkin pies. We just love it. I love those because they're so easy to make, and like literally you can have them out and just kind of. I guess I was thinking about my family generally eats Thanksgiving, and then everyone takes a break, and then they go into a different room where they have all the desserts set out. So I was thinking like sometimes it's nice to have just a sample, a little bit of everything when I made that recipe. But I also love it because they kind of have their own crust little cups, and you can, if you have leftovers too, they're great to kind of like pop just a couple like when you're walking through. So that recipe is really fun. I kind of feel like I'm known for our desserts. I feel like that's kind of something that everyone kind of generates to our channel for. So we love that. We have a sweet potato pumpkin pie that's a little different that we love. Regular pumpkin pies. And we just play around with recipes. We also have a cheesecake that I made for my birthday over the summer, but sometimes we just add pumpkin to it to make it a pumpkin cheesecake. And that's really a good one as well.
How does one make the crust for these mini pumpkin pies? Because I'm guessing you're not going to the store and getting anything that's ready made.
Right. And we generally will make like an oat, and sometimes we put seeds or nuts in there and dates and spices and put it in your food processor. And then it just becomes same idea if you had like energy balls that stick together, and then you can form little crusts out of it, which is just so convenient to do.
So we have a little bit going back to the roasted nut thing. Marion is in Ireland, and she says that she uses nuts in place of lentils in a loaf. She says that she still prefers lentils, but that is something that you can absolutely do. I'm going to check into that.
Yeah, and I think that's fun. It makes it more festive. Same with this. If you put like pistachios in here, that would be fantastic, or walnuts. It just kind of takes it, I feel like, to another level sometimes when you add nuts and seeds to recipes.
I would like to encourage everybody who's watching us around the world right now. If you're not in the US, you're not celebrating Thanksgiving on Thursday, go ahead and celebrate with us anyway. Let's have a fun little Thanksgiving community virtually. Send me your pictures at Chuck Carroll WLC. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all at the same thing. Send me your pictures. I want to put together a big old collaboration of what the exam roomies are eating. So I see Yakis. I hope that that's how you pronounce your name. You're watching right now in Johannesburg, South Africa. Obviously, we have our friend Marion, who's now watching in Ireland. I saw somebody from Canada saying, "Hey, we beat you to Thanksgiving weeks ago. You guys are so behind the times." They were there earlier, so let's just have some fun with that. Send me your photos. What are some other fun, plant-based, whole food, yummy desserts? A lot of people like brownies. Those were a staple at my grandmommy's house growing up. You a brownie fan?
I love brownies. Brownies, cakes. I think any dessert you can make for Thanksgiving. It doesn't have to just be pumpkin. We have made cranberry pear bars before with like a crust. That's a great seasonal one. But I feel like you can do a chocolate cake. It doesn't necessarily have to be pumpkin. You can definitely switch it up.
Yeah, brownies is good. Pumpkin, cookies. I know that coming up next month with your membership, which is just $10 a month, by the way, you're going to be doing all kinds of holiday cookies, right?
Yeah, so we have a private membership. People are asking how they could help kind of support what we do, help pay for groceries. When you're recipe testing a bunch, it gets very pricey. So I kind of set up a membership where it's kind of all the recipes I'm working on currently, and then later they come out for free over months on the channel. But we're having it all be cookies in December. So the membership always gives 10 recipes. So it's 10 whole food, plant-based, SOS-free holiday cookies. And then we have a really fun monthly class that comes with it. So we get together, and for December, it's going to be so fun we're going to dress up. There's an ugly sweater contest, and we'll do holiday, music and have a lot of fun with it and have prizes. So just a really fun way to be in the spirit, still make cookies that are good for you, and get your whole family kind of involved.
And there's a link to sign up right now in the show description, by the way. So go ahead and give a click on that. I mean, it's so much fun. I know that you do some stuff with art in there. There's that community meetup once a month as well. Extra videos, the 10 recipes. There's a lot that comes with it for just $10. I mean, you're talking about a bargain there, Brittany, that you've put together. So
Thank you.
definitely sign up for that. Couple of more before we wrap things up because I'm awfully hungry at this point. We have a lot of people saying, well, hey, like let's just take the mains off the table altogether and just go with a bunch of sides for Thanksgiving this year. I'm sure that's a concept you're familiar with. You can walk away just as satisfied, I would imagine, right?
Yeah, I mean the sides are the best part, to be honest. I feel like the turkey's boring and all of that, but really the sides are the stars of it. So I don't see any problem with just making your favorite sides. I mean, literally that's what we load up on anyway. I think it's nice to have something to kind of replace that turkey in the middle. I did want to show you that this is going to replace, we've been plant-based vegan for a while now, but I did start a tradition where we sponsor a turkey from a sanctuary and it goes on our table as well. So just a fun idea. If you're plant-based and you've been doing this for a while, you might want to sponsor a turkey from a sanctuary. And then, they send you information about that turkey, but this is ours. From New York when I met Chuck, a sanctuary up there. So just a fun little tradition. So we put this next to our beautiful platter in the middle of our Thanksgiving.
Oh yeah. We got together at the Albany Veg Fest. That was a good time. I didn't know that there was an animal sanctuary up.
There's
up there.
Woodstock in New York. There's one close to that area. So we they had turkeys to sponsor. So I sponsored Tiny and. Really fun way to kind of give back and feel good about your Thanksgiving table.
Tiny the turkey. That does not look like a tiny turkey, though. I'm just saying. I mean that's an awfully big gobbler on that fella. My goodness. Let's see here. We got Leanna. Here's a menu for you. How do you think about this? I mean, I would want to go over to this house. My mom is doing the veggies and potatoes and cake. I'm making mini pizzas, mac and tofu cheese, and cookies. I mean, you keep that whole food plant-based, you got a winner. You got a winner for sure, huh?
For sure. I mean, anything that people like, I feel like is great for a holiday. And what we do too is, for Thanksgiving, we just kind of switch a couple things out. We do the kind of the same idea for Christmas, which is so great to kind of have all these staples and foods that we love, comfort foods that we all enjoy.
All right. And last cooking question. This is an interesting one. Huh. I'm wondering, this is from Hawaii is Fun again. They got a lot of questions. I'm wondering if a pumpkin would be a good substitute for turkey because it has a similar color and shape.
I mean, you could definitely do a stuffed pumpkin, like a mini pumpkin pie, like those ones that you're kind of getting. You definitely can stuff that. That's beautiful on your table as well. Again, really presentation. So I think doing something like that would be perfect.
Daggone. Like I thought I was throwing you a curveball. You didn't even bat an eyelash. You were just like, nope, stuffed pumpkin. Let's do it. Get the turkey off the table. Here's what you're going to want to do. I love that about you. Like you have this stuff down to a science. You're also a teacher, right? You teach middle school kids. Do you get an opportunity to talk to them at all about healthy eating, or do you just keep it with whatever's in the curriculum that particular day?
So I run cooking club at my school. And so when I teach the sessions, I don't necessarily put it out that it's, vegan, whole food, plant-based, all of the things, but I definitely say allergy friendly. And I always teach something with what I would do on the channel, which just kind of encourages kids, to try something new that they may not have had before. Like we made pumpkin dip, and we made it with dates, and maybe that's a food they never heard of before or tried. We've done lots of different things in the past, just little swaps that they can have that are definitely healthier for them.
That is amazing. Blind guy.
I just sprinkle it everywhere.
I'm telling you, my friends down in the Norfolk area of Virginia, blind guy, his wife, their life, fun little YouTube channel. They're wondering if you need any taste testers for your recipe.
Oh, for sure. You're always.
I love those two, man. They are an absolute trip. We have somebody else wondering about maybe doing roasted cauliflower instead of the turkey. Good idea.
Beautiful. Yeah, we've done that with you can make a sauce, even like put tahini in a sauce or something on that and roast it. And then we usually will put like different vegetables around it, and it can be beautiful. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be something that's not a vegetable. That can be the star of the show too.
Awesome. All right. Well, look, I got to go to the store. I got to get a bunch of ingredients, but I am fired up for what's to come. And I know that a lot of us learned a whole heck of a lot here today. You certainly have taken the pressure off of delivering a delicious meal for non-vegans on Thanksgiving. So, Brittany Jaroudi, you are the absolute best. Be sure to click all of the links to Brittany stuff in the show description right now. You've got the membership. I mean, $10 a month. Come on. You got Instagram, you got the website, so many different things. Brittany, thank you for taking a little bit of time. That platter that you made today looks absolutely fantastic.
Thank you. I'm gonna enjoy it now up to Thanksgiving for sure, but it's pretty heavy. And then again, we can just take balsamic real quick and finish it off. It turns out so beautiful for your table.
All right. All right. Brittany Jaroudi, thank you so much. Stick around. I'm going to talk to you again in just a minute. Okay.
Sounds good.
All right. And before we get out of here, I want to do something new. We call it the 5-star health success. I've been testing this out on the podcast of late. And by the way, you can subscribe on Apple or wherever it is that you get your shows. And this is where the exam roomies, you guys have the opportunity to tell us how your health has improved by listening to the show or by going on a plant-based diet. And Beachside Walker wrote this. They left a 5-star rating on Apple Podcast. And this in the review, they write, "This show is where I gain knowledge and accumulated information for my health. It's not just about 1 or 2 episodes because I believe the accumulative efforts of listening over time have helped me achieve my goals of being healthy." So thank you. Well, I think that that's great. Anything that we can do to help raise your health IQ and get you on that healthier path is what I'm talking about. So if you have had a 5-star health success that you would like to share on the show, go ahead and click that link right now in the show description. Leave that 5-star rating, and in the review box, tell us about how your health has improved since you've adopted a plant-based diet or begun listening to the Exam Room podcast. We'll get your story out there so you can inspire others to follow in your footsteps. And for today, my friends, that is all the time that we have. I want to say thank you once again to Brittany Jaroudi for being here. So cool, so creative, so daggone delicious in the kitchen. Also to the crew behind the scenes that makes the magic happen. Thank you. I'm so thankful for you for all of the hard work that you've been putting in this year. Lots more to come. And to you exam roomies, phenomenal questions as always. Can't wait to break the virtual Thanksgiving bread with you this Thursday. And for everyone here at the Physicians Committee, I am the weight loss champion, Chuck Carroll. We'll talk to you again soon, but until then, happy Thanksgiving and keep it plant-based.